Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
The fortunes of the economy and the indicators trending towards the right direction. The mandate. And this is it. You'll find it on the Bank of Ghana. So I'm going to put it on the screen right now. I set the pace for the conversation this morning. And whether that is enough justification for what we have seen. That the primary objective being to maintain stability in the general level of prices, as stated under Section 3 of the Bank of Ghana Act 2002, as amended. These losses we're talking about were as a result of two major factors: the open market operations of the bank, and then also the domestic gold purchase program. And the gold board plays a critical role in this chain of the domestic gold purchase program, interfacing between the small-scale miners and the Bank of Ghana, and then some large-scale miners as well. The Chief Executive Officer of the Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi, is our guest this morning. Mr. Gyamfi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred.
It's been, what, the last 18 months or so you haven't been on this program?
Yeah, I think it's been a long time.
Welcome.
We are here
good
now.
Morning.
Thank you very much, and let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers across the globe.
And before you came in this morning, there was a question that about 6 or 7 of our viewers sent regarding what the future of this domestic gold purchase program will be, taking into consideration the losses or the cost of this particular program going forward. It's one thing that we're going to get into. But you listen to the majority there, that the loss that the Bank of Ghana is even projecting, the 15.6 billion we'll be talking about, is actually not the 15.6 billion. They add the cost and the loss on the domestic gold purchase program, that's the 9 billion, making up 44 billion for that matter, which would be the comprehensive loss that the Bank of Ghana has posted. Why are you in a different position to this particular position that the majority takes?
Well, thank you very much. You see, I believe that everyone has a right to their own opinions, but no one has a right to their own set of facts. And so in discussing issues of public interest, it is important for us to respect the facts. It's important for us to respect the truth. It's not about what you think. It's not about conjecture. It's not about contriving, non-existent realities and imposing it on the people.
What is the non-existent reality in this?
You see, what are we discussing? We are discussing the audited financial statements of the Bank of Ghana for the year 2025. What does that mean? When we say audited financial statements, what are we talking about? Is it that Governor Johnson Esiama and his team at Bank of Ghana woke up one day and prepared their financial statements and published it and said, this is our financial position? That is not what it means. We are talking about an external institution out of the institutional framework of the Bank of Ghana. An independent external institution that the Bank of Ghana does not control. In this case, KPMG. Conducting an external audit on the financials of the Bank of Ghana, and at the end of that audit, publishing the outcome, the results of their audit. So what we are discussing is not a document that was prepared by the Bank of Ghana. This is a document prepared by KPMG. And when we talk about KPMG, you're talking about one of the 4 most biggest accounting and auditing firms in the world. KPMG is part of not only the biggest, but the most credible in the world. And so if KPMG tells you on page 15 of the Bank of Ghana's audited financial statements, where they presented the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss for the year ended 31st December 2025. And if you have it, you can put it on the screen. They tell you the profit and loss position of the Bank of Ghana. And the profit and loss, statement is what you use to examine the health of every company or corporate body. The profit and loss. That tells you the results of the actions of the management of that company or that institution. And KPMG says Bank of Ghana made an operating loss in the year 2025 of 15.6 billion cedis. And then you have Kojo Oppong saying, no, it is not so, it is 34 billion. Is Kojo Oppong an auditor?
Well, he's also entitled to look into it.
No, hold on. Is he a chartered accountant? Is he an auditor? What credibility does he have?
He's a member of the
hold on, let's
Economic
go.
Development Committee.
And so that means that he has more credibility than KPMG. I mean, that means that he, Kojo Oppong, who I'm told is a lawyer, he has more credibility in accounting than KPMG. So KPMG is telling you that we have audited Bank of Ghana, and this is their loss for the year ended 2025. The matter ends there. Unless you can use facts to impugn the integrity of the work that KPMG has done, you don't have a case. You just have to keep quiet. You understand? Number two, what he is doing is what is called voodoo mathematics. It is a sacrilege in accounting to add profit or loss from other comprehensive income statements to profit or loss in the real P&L statement. It is not done anywhere. It is not done anywhere. You see, when you are assessing the health of every organization, like I've already told you, is the P&L statement of the organization that you use. What you have in the other comprehensive income, I'm not an accountant, but the little accountant I studied in the law school, and when I was doing my EPM program, tells me that the two are different. Because in the P&L statement, you are talking about real, or if you like, actual profit or loss incurred by the organization. Alfred, are you following me? That is what you have in the profit and loss. It is a real or actual profit and loss that organization has incurred. That is what people technically will say realized. It means it has been incurred. When you go to the other comprehensive income, which is what you find on page 16 of the audited financials of the Bank of Ghana, you are talking about profit or loss that are arising from what is called revaluation gains or losses or exchange differences that are unrealized. In other words, listen to me. In other words, it means the bank has not actually incurred those losses or profits.
So adding the OCI to the
it is a sacrilege.
And then also the
and then saying that is the operating loss.
Domestic gold purchase program.
Yes, that is a total comprehensive loss or profit.
Yes.
But you don't say that is operating loss. And you don't use total comprehensive loss or profit to assess the financial health of an organization. You see, in Ghana, Parliament, and it is so sad that those who are leading this disinformation are members of Parliament. Because that Parliament, where Kojo Oppong is a member, Anta is a member, Gideon Boako is a member, passed the Bank of Ghana Act 612. And as Section 7 of that Bank of Ghana Act, they are provided for what is called revaluation accounts. And this is what it reads. It says, profits or losses arising from a revaluation of the bank's assets or liabilities in gold, in special drawing rights, or foreign securities as a result of a change in the par value of the cedi, or of any change in the par value of the currency unit of any other country, shall be excluded from the computation of the annual profits or losses of the bank. So you have parliamentarians who pass this law who are supposed to understand this, that when you're preparing your profit and loss statement, okay, which I believe is what you have there, but here you're showing only the expenses. The revenue side is not showing.
No, we'll flip it up.
The law is telling you, and you can go to page 16 where you have the OCI. The law is telling you that you don't add that to the profit and loss.
The other comprehensive income.
These losses, what we call the revaluation losses and the exchange differences, the losses or profits, you don't add it to your profit or loss. That is what the law is saying. If you do that, you have committed an illegality. So to say that the auditors should have done that is to say that KPMG should have violated the law passed by Parliament. It is not done. Look, what do we mean by revaluation losses? Let's simplify this so that the ordinary man watching us this morning can understand. Let's say, you see the Bank of Ghana, they are the custodians of the foreign reserves of Ghana. Okay? And the reserves are in dollars. So you hear that Ghana has $13.8 billion of reserves. Mm-hmm. There is a component that is in gold. There is a component that is in dollars. Okay, the bank invests these dollars into various securities and instruments with their bankers. Bank of Ghana also has bankers. Okay, in America, in Switzerland, that they bank with. So the bank uses its foreign denominated currency that it has to say they purchase a bond. At the time they were making that investment, the cedi to dollar, say, was 14.75, as we had it as of December 2024. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So if they are preparing their financial statement in December 2024, they won't prepare the statement in dollars. They have to prepare the statement in cedis. So they will convert the value of that investment in dollars into cedis. When they are converting it, they will multiply it by what? 14.75. So
is it as a prevailing rate at the time of the...
No, you just follow my explanation. They will use the Bank of Ghana reference rate to convert that dollar investment, simply put, into cedis for purposes of their financial statements.
I get that.
Good. Now, hold on. No, I'm not talking about open market rate. I'm talking about the Bank of Ghana reference rate, what we call interbank rate. That is what the Bank of Ghana will use to convert their foreign currency denominated assets into cedis. And a typical example is an investment they have done with their foreign reserves, with their dollars. Are you following? Now, let's say 1 year after December 2025, the Bank of Ghana performed so well in delivering their core mandate of price stability, currency stability. And the cedi appreciates from 14.75% to 10.45%. It means that that same investment that they would have converted at 14.75%, they will convert into cedis in their books at 10.5%. So if they had an investment of $1 billion in 2024 December, when the cedi was 14.75 to the dollar, in cedis in their books, that investment will be worth 14.75 billion cedis because you're multiplying it by the BOG reference rate of 14.75. But in December 2025, that same investment, not because of mismanagement, but because of prudent management of the cedi, which has ensured that the cedi has appreciated, which is a good thing, something that has brought relief to Ghanaians' households and businesses. By no fault of theirs, just by doing this good thing, they are going to suffer a loss. Because that investment that was worth 14.75 billion cedis will now be worth 10.45 billion cedis. So they have made a loss of what? 4.3 billion. A loss. So that is a revaluation loss.
The forex differentials as a result.
An exchange rate differential has led to a revaluation loss on that investment. Okay? Now, if that investment comes to an end, and Bank of Ghana is paid the monies they are entitled to at whatever interest rate they did the investment into their bank account, that is what you call realization. It's been realized. They've completed the transaction. So if that loss of 4.3 billion cedis as a result of the appreciation of the Ghana cedi, which is a good thing for the Ghanaian economy, for Ghanaian households, for Ghanaian citizens, for everybody in Ghana, that we are happy about. What we are happy about is going to cost the Bank of Ghana a loss. And that loss is realized. And because it is realized, it will be part of their profit and loss statement. So when you look at their profit and loss statement, put it back on the screen, you will see that there is a revaluation loss of 5.4 billion. That is revaluation losses that have been realized. It has crystallized. Okay? What you have in the other comprehensive income, which section 7 of the Bank of Ghana Act says, don't add it to your profit and loss, is the revaluation losses or exchange rate differences that have not been realized. In other words, when the tenure of the investment was 1 year. By December, when they were preparing their financial statement, the duration had not lapsed. So Bank of Ghana has not been paid any money. Or say the Bank of Ghana did a rollover. So they have not been paid the proceeds of that investment. So it is a loss. They will record it in their books. If you look at the book values of the investment from 2024 to 2025, they have recorded a loss. But that is what you call a book loss, an unrealized loss, because they have not actually incurred the loss to the extent that the investment has not come to an end. So the law says, for that loss, don't add it to your profit and loss. Add it to your other comprehensive income. You understand? So that other comprehensive income, you cannot add it to the operating loss. That is what the law is telling you. And that is what KPMG has done. So what our brothers in the NPP are doing is very, very disingenuous. And they must stop, because they are not doing their credibility any good. You may succeed in hoodwinking a few people who do not understand these principles of accounting and what the law says. But people who are well initiated and understand these issues will appreciate the hollowness of the argument you're making.
I want to go back to that profit and loss statement, because cash is fact.
Yes.
Cash is fact. It's one that you cannot look at it in any way, shape, or form. We'll put the profit and loss statement back on the screen.
So I unfortunately, you are not showing the other comprehensive income. Okay, but with time, maybe your producers are working on that. It will come, and we can explain better to Ghanaians. But you see, Alfred, so let's settle the point that the operating loss the Bank of Ghana incurred for the year ended December 2025 is 15.6 billion. Not 34 billion. They are arriving at 34 billion because they are adding the loss from the other comprehensive income of 19.3 billion to the 15.6. And that is why they are getting 34. And that is not done. That's number one. Number two, they are saying that there is, when we sold the gold, when Bank of Ghana decided to sell a portion of its gold reserves, they made a gain, profit, of 9.5 billion cedis. And so for them, they have to take that gain out of the operating profit and loss statement of the bank. They have to take it out of revenue. And they are saying that if they take it out of revenue, then the bank would have been policy insolvent, meaning that its operating income would not have been able to cover its core mandate of open market operations, sterilization.
I was going to get to that, because you see, as we speak now, based on the financial statement as published, is the Bank of Ghana a going concern? Is it solvent, policy solvent?
You're missing
to discuss, look at being able to discharge on its mandate. Yeah, that's the point.
So if that is what, let me answer that. You're asking about policy, and what is policy solvency or insolvency? What it simply means. Sometimes we make, simple things very complex. The income that the Bank of Ghana generates from its operations should be enough to cover the discharge of their main mandate, which is open market operations. Open market operations is where the Bank of Ghana, lends to the market. They issue bills to the market, okay, for people to actually buy those things. And if you do that, it means that the Bank of Ghana is borrowing from you. So the Bank of Ghana borrows from commercial banks. And when the Bank of Ghana borrows from commercial banks, what is the Bank of Ghana doing? Their core mandate, which is to manage money supply. Okay? So they want to ensure that money supply in the economy is at optimal levels, so that you don't have more money chasing fewer goods to create what in economics is called demand pool inflation. And so when they borrow money, they have to pay interest. And the interest they pay is what we call sterilization cost or OMU cost. That is one of the major functions of the central bank. Okay? And so whatever income the Bank of Ghana is generating should be enough to cover the interest it will pay on the monies it borrows from commercial banks. That's what it means in simple terms. And you look at page 15 of the audited financial statements prepared by KPMG, not Bank of Ghana, KPMG. One of the top 4 biggest and most credible accounting and auditing firms. I need to repeat that. And they are saying that their income is 22 billion. But the OMO cost, the sterilization cost for 2025 was what? 16 billion. So the bank is policy solvent by over 5.5 billion cedis. In 2024, their policy solvency was 700 million. 2024, before we came into power. Policy solvency of 700 million, now 5.5.
So this is the position.
Now, hold on, let's go step by step. Now they say that, the reason why you are policy solvent is because you sold our gold reserves. And later on, I will explain the issues surrounding the sale of those gold reserves. And they say you sold 22 tons of our gold reserves. And when you did that, you made a profit of 9.5 and you added it to your P&L. You shouldn't have added it to it. I said, well, what's be that? I am reporting my profit and loss. It is simply a record of my income, my operating income for that year, and my revenue. I have sold gold, which I acquired as part of my operations. Who doesn't know that per section 50D of the Bank of Ghana Act, the Bank of Ghana, as part of its operations, can buy gold and sell gold? The Bank of Ghana is one of the few organizations, we are 2, Gold Board and Bank of Ghana. Only we can buy gold. Are you getting my point? So the Bank of Ghana, as part of reserve management, can buy gold. They can sell the gold. It's part of their operations. When they buy gold and they add it to their reserves, they are supposed to manage the reserves. When they manage the reserves and they get income, it's called reserve management income. It is part of the operating income. You can't say they shouldn't add it. Let's subject what our friends are saying to just simple layman common sense. Alfred, are you following? I need your attention for 1 minute. In this country, from last year till this year, you heard the Bank of Ghana come under attack a lot. Why? Because they say that the Bank of Ghana, in buying and selling gold, has made losses. Haven't you heard that?
That's
good.
Been a consistent position that has been taken.
They said when we buy small-scale gold and we export, the Bank of Ghana makes losses. And so the losses should be in the financial statements of the bank, their profit and loss. And if you check the 2025 profit and loss statement of the Bank of Ghana, don't you see a loss on gold deals, 9 billion? Don't you see that?
It's a little over 9 billion, yes.
Loss on gold deals, don't you see that? 9 billion, 52,774,000.
Exactly.
Loss on gold deals. So when the Bank of Ghana buys small-scale gold and exports it, and they make losses, you criticize them, you expect them to put it in their profit and loss, and they record the loss actually on their profit and loss. But when they go and sell a portion of their gold reserves, which is large-scale gold, and they make profits, that one you say, oh, don't put it on your profit and loss statement. Does this make sense to you? It's like they don't understand what they're saying. Operating income is operating income. Reserve management is not a one-off activity. That's number one. Buying gold by the Central Bank of Ghana is not a one-off activity. The Central Bank has been buying gold from 2021 till date under the Domestic Gold Purchase Program. It is now part of its core operations. So when in managing those gold reserves, if they realize losses, it is part of their P&L. If they make gains, it is part of their P&L. You don't go and sit in Parliament after a reputable third-party organization, KPMG, has prepared audited financial statement, and you come and say, no, you shouldn't have added gains from gold, take it out. But you are rather adding the losses on gold. Does that make sense? You see, let me go back a bit, Alfred.
No, because you went into the losses on the gold purchase, domestic gold purchase program from 2021. 2022, the program cost was about 74 million. 2023, it's about 1.4 billion. As against the value of our 37 tons that were sold, about 1.6 billion. 2024, 56 tons of gold was traded and valued at 4.1 billion. The loss on the program, or the program cost, was 5.7 billion. in 2025, we saw an astronomical appreciation because of the interventions and also the gold board as you are heading now. 111 tons in 2025, correct?
Yeah.
At the value of $11.4 billion. The net program loss or cost was 9.1 billion, which has been recorded.
Yes, it is in the P&L. But some people are saying that if you sell gold and you make loss, add it to your profit and loss. If you sell gold and you make gains, don't add it to your profit and loss. That is what they are telling you.
Made the point that if you were using the same procedure in between 2022 and 2024, you wouldn't have incurred this particular loss. They don't on the books.
They don't understand what they are saying. I'll come to the gold losses, but I want us to go back a bit. I'll come to that. You see, first of all, to appreciate this discussion, you need to put the issues in the right perspective. You need to know where we are coming from. I've read. And I need your attention. What was the state of the economy that the NDC government, the Mahama government, the Johnson, Esiama-led BOG, the Atoforsen-led Ministry of Finance inherited from the NPP on 7 January 2025? Alfred, that is, you see, we need to remind ourselves and not take stock of where we are, and then we can appreciate this discussion of losses. For me, that is a starting point. We took over an economy where the cedi in 2024 depreciated by 19%. In 2022, let me go 3 years back and give you a trajectory. The cedi depreciated by 30%. In 2023, the cedi depreciated by 27.8%. In 2024, the cedi depreciated by 19%. In the retail dollar cash market, you needed 16 cedis to get $1. At the interbank level, as of December 2024, you needed 14.75 pesos, 14 cedis, 75 pesos to get $1. The Ghana cedi was one of the worst performing currencies in the world by 2022, 2023, 2024. Worst performing currencies in the world. Inflation, which is one of the biggest regressive taxes in any economy because it erodes disproportionately the incomes of our households and affects the poor even more than it affects the rich. Inflation was 54% in 2022. By December 2022, inflation came to 23.2 in 2023, and by 2024 went up to 23.8 inflation. Food inflation, by the time we came into office, food inflation. And when we talk about inflation, we are talking about the rate of increase in general price level of goods and services over time. And here I'm talking about 1 year. Food inflation was 27% when we came into office. Lending rates, the average lending rate that banks will lend money to a business was over 30%. Are you listening? Debt, our public debt had ballooned from 120 billion cedis in 2016 to 726 billion by December 2024. 726 billion. Debt to GDP from 2022 was over 100%. That is how come the whole country became bankrupt. Debt insolvent. And we had to appropriate the monies of people who had lent to government, including pensioners, through what they called domestic debt exchange program. Do you remember that? And by the time the MPP was leaving office, debt to GDP was 61%. Our credit rating was junk baller economy. This is the economic mess we inherited. An economy in tatters. When we took office, President Mahama said, we knew the problem. We promised to fix it. It is not time to lament. We promised a reset. Let's reset the economy. And in just 1 year, 1 year of this reset agenda, we have delivered the most remarkable, the most outstanding economic turnarounds ever recorded by any country. Okay? In history. You are talking about in just 1 year, the currency that had depreciated over the last 3 years, 2022, 2023, 2024, by cumulatively 77%. Now NDC comes, and in 2025, the currency appreciates by 41%.
Which the Bank of Ghana had to pay the price for.
The Bank of Ghana is the one managing the currency. So they are the pivots. So when we say cedi, now if you're a businessman and you're looking for dollars, and under the NPP at the interbank level, $10,000 would have cost you 140,750 or maybe 140,000 thereabout because the dollar was 14.7.
As of December.
So as of December 2025, you will 10.45, 100,400 and something. You will get it. You're saving about 43,000 cedis on $10,000. Multiply that by the millions and look at the relief that has provided to BDCs who bring in oil products, businesses who bring in sugar, who bring in rice. Look at the relief. Who did that work? Central Bank of Ghana. Okay? So the cedi that was depreciating for 3 years, cumulatively 77%, now appreciate 41%. First time in decades, many decades. The cedi that was the worst performing currency in the world, one of the worst, now becomes one of the best performing currencies in the world. The talk of town, being celebrated across the globe, the best performing currency in Africa. Inflation rate that was 23.8%. Now declines for 15 consecutive months. In 2025, 12 consecutive months to 3.4%. In fact, 5.4%. Now 3.4%. But as of December 2025, 5.4% inflation. Food inflation moves from 27% to 4.9%. Lending rate that was over 30% now comes to below 20%. Are you listening to this? The public debt reduces from 726 billion in 1 year to 641 billion by December 2025. A reduction of 85 billion in the public debt. Why? Because the cedi has appreciated. And so the foreign component, the dollar part of the debt has come down. Who did the work? Central Bank. Are you listening to this? Debt to GDP from 61% to 45%. Our credit rating that was baller, junk, rated RD, restricted default. Now it's rated what? Only yesterday, B, with a positive outlook. When in your lifetime did you remember Ghana's economy being rated B? Are you telling me that the central bank that was the main pivot for achieving this economic turnaround, one of the main pivots, should have delivered this outstanding, remarkable economic turnaround without incurring costs? And that this turnaround should have been free.
And all of this, is this what? Is enough justification for
it's not about justification.
We've seen
it's not about justification.
Because the minority holds the view that
let's not be
stability in numbers does not mean the stability in lives.
Go and tell that to the businessman who needed 16 Ghana cedis in the retail market for $1. And by December 2025, with 11 cedis in that same retail market, he could get $1. So on every dollar, he was being saved what? 50 pesos in the retail market. Go and tell that person that this stability is a stability of numbers, not reality. What are they saying? Imagine, you that are watching me, imagine what would have been the state of your life if the dollar today was 16 cedis. The cedi to dollar was 16 cedis. What would have been the price of fuel? What would have been utility prices? What would have been the price of food? You see, sometimes we forget the unlived experience. If the cedi was depreciating under NDC within this 1 year, like it depreciated under the MPP, maybe the dollar would have hit 20 cedis. What would have been the impact on households and on livelihoods for an economy where over 90% of the things you find in the market are imported? What would have been the impact? So let's not even go there. But the question, I don't want to be argumentative because we are educating Kenyans. The question I want to ask is that in delivering this outstanding economic turnaround that nobody can debate, should there have been no cost? Let's be objective. Put your MPP or your NDC aside. Should there have been no cost? There will obviously be a cost. There is a cost to everything. And who has to pay the cost for all of us to enjoy is the Central Bank of Ghana. Because even though their financial health as a central bank is very important to their sustainability, for them, they choose their core mandate, a constitutional mandate of price stability. And the financial stability, they prioritize that over their own books. You understand? Now, when you hear that an institution has made a loss, Alfred, the first thing you must do is to look at the profit and loss statement of the institution. And here I'll be very happy if they can put page 15 of the financial statement of the Bank of Ghana on the street, or on the screen. And let's disaggregate this loss. And I want to do that with you, Alfred, so that you know what has caused this loss? Where is the loss coming from? And is this loss because somebody has mismanaged the Bank of Ghana? It is because somebody has chopped money? Is it because somebody is incompetent? Or it is because of the outstanding economic turnaround we have achieved and the painful but necessary actions that had to be taken to achieve that economic turnaround? Alfred, when you look at the profit and loss statement of the Bank of Ghana, which is recorded on page 15 of the P&L statement, you realize that there are three major operating expenses of the Bank of Ghana. Three major operating expenses of the Bank of Ghana that raised their operating expenditure to 37.9 billion and therefore caused their operating loss of 15.6 billion. These three major operating expenses are as follows. Cost of open market operation, which I've already explained. The interest the Bank of Ghana pays when they borrow from commercial banks. Mainly, that is what it is. Okay? Which is 16.7 billion Ghana cedis. 16.7 billion. Then, number two, you have net loss on gold dues. 9 billion Ghana cedis. Then you have revaluation loss or gain and exchange differences. 5.4 billion Ghana cedis. These are the three biggest expenditure items. So let's take them one by one. Three biggest expenditure items. Okay?
Yes.
I'm not there. I'm not there. Let's not this one. Go to you are in the OCI. Go to the P&L. The P&L. This is the other comprehensive income. You have to go to the profit and loss. Good. That is where you are. So check. Look at the first item. Cost of open market operation, 16.7. Then you see exchange differences, 5.4 billion. Revaluation loss and gain and exchange differences, 5.4 billion.
There's the 5 billion,
5.4 billion.
Yes, million,
exactly.
44.
Then you see net loss on gold dues, 9 billion. Those are the three biggest. Now let's start with the revaluation loss. I've already explained it, but let me emphasize. When we say revaluation loss, what does it mean? It means that the Bank of Ghana has foreign denominated assets, like investments with their banks in dollars or foreign currency, which must be recorded in their financial statements in cedis. And so when the dollar to CD rate measured by the Bank of Ghana reference rate is high, like it was in 2024, 14.75, but in less than 1 year, that rate comes to 10.45 by December 2025, the bank suffers a loss. And that portion of the loss which was realized, actually incurred, is 5.4 billion.
And so, this is as a result of the
appreciation of the cedi that has brought relief to households, businesses, and Ghanaians.
That's the price that the central bank had to pay for the
So when we were all happy, and bongo ideas and all these bloggers on social media were clapping, Ato is forcing, everybody is happy, President Mahama is doing well, dollar is going down, cedi is going up, the cedi is becoming stronger. The Bank of Ghana will suffer losses because they have investment in dollars that when it is converted into cedis, now they have to multiply by 10.5 instead of the 14.75. So this loss, Alfred, is it because of mismanagement? Answer me.
I mean, the evidence.
Is it because of incompetence? Is it because somebody has printed money for the government like it happened under Addison the printer? Is it because of that? When they printed 44.5 billion cedis, for the MPP government in 2022, they wasted the money, they couldn't pay, and they gave the Bank of Ghana a 50% haircut. Is it the same? We are done with revaluation loss of 5.4 billion. Let's go to sterilization. You print money, so much money for the central government. Under the MPP, 2022 alone, 44.5 billion. The Bank of Ghana admitted it. You can Google, you see the stories. When you do that, when they did that, what was the results, Alfred? And I need your attention, Alfred, please. The results was that inflation rose to 54%, hyper levels. And they were only able to bring it to 23.8%. Are you listening to me? And for 1 year, inflation stood at 23.2 for 2023 to only 23.8 in 1 year. Kasa bebrebe ni nyina, oh, you should have used dynamic cash reserve ratio, which we, the MPP, introduced. You had all these ideas, yet from 2023 to 2024, inflation moved from 23.2 to 23.8. What was the impact of those ideas that you claim or you say that this bank leadership of the Bank of Ghana should have continued? So the Bank of Ghana comes and money supply is in excess. Excess liquidity in the market, inflation is high. We need to do the heavy lifting and bring inflation down. So what do? They need to mop up the excess liquidity. So they go to the commercial banks who have this excess liquidity, and then they borrow the money, and they pay interest, and the interest they paid, 2024, check the statement again. The interest the Addison-led BOG paid on OMO for 2024 is what you see there, 8.5 billion. The first item, go to the first item, 8.5 billion. That is the cost of sterilization for 2024. So it's not like sterilization is bad. If it was bad, why did you incur 8.5 billion sterilization cost in 2024? But in 2025, because we have to mop more liquidity and bring inflation from hyper levels, 23.8 to 3.4, the cost is double, 16.7.
So over 16.7 billion.
Yes, and so inflation comes down. Food inflation moves from 27% to 4.9%. According to AGRA, food prices reduced by 32% in 2025. 32%. So this sterilization that cost that they incurred, which has led to loss of 16.7 billion, is it because of mismanagement?
And that is one of the highlights of the minority, that look, you didn't have to spend so much sterilizing in open market operations to be able to.
So why did they spend?
Achieve
so why did they spend? Why did they spend 8.5 billion? They say there are better solutions. You don't have to use sterilizing. Why did they incur sterilization cost of 8.5 billion? Why? If sterilization should not be done, why? 8.5 billion, and you gave us inflation of 23.8. Somebody did 16.7 and gave us inflation of 3.4%. Food inflation of 4.9%. And food prices came down by 32%. So what are you saying? Is this the product of mismanagement? Let's go to the last item, gold deals.
That's we
inherit an economy where we cannot, you see, over the years, Ghana gets dollars for the market, those who need dollars to go and import from three main sources: gold, cocoa, and oil. And we have to, because that is not enough, we have to borrow. So you hear of something called Eurobond. That is government borrowing on the capital market in dollars. Just to get dollars for the market. You have to create debts to get dollars for the market. But we took over an economy where we could not even go on the capital market to borrow. Because the NPP had so borrowed that they could not pay, and we were locked out of the capital market. So you can't get Eurobond to bring dollars in. The IMF money, we got 3 billion every year, you're getting less than $1 billion. Cocoa that would have brought you $2 to $3 billion per annum, cocoa was going down. Oil that will bring you some dollars, oil production is going down, and oil prices were going down. The only thing you had was your gold. And so we said, okay, we inherited domestic gold purchase program, but through the gold board that President Mahama envisioned and promised, let's scale it up so that what has never been done in the history of Ghana, we can do. And we deployed effective aggregation system, license reforms, plug leakages, fought smuggling aggressively. And for the first time, we mop up small-scale gold of over 104 tons. And that performance of the small-scale sector was better than large-scale for the first time in Ghana's history. Small-scale gold alone brought in over $10 billion. Large-scale brought in nothing close to $10 billion. Are you listening to me? Now, to be able to generate these dollars, the Bank of Ghana says there is a price. What is this price? I must buy the gold at the exchange rate at which gold is bought in Ghana. Mm-hmm. And from the time Ghana became Ghana, our forefathers' time, when we started mining gold, till 2025, gold is bought in cedis per pound in Ghana. But when you're calculating the price, you use what exchange rate? Forest Bureau exchange rate. Mm-hmm. Not black market Forest Bureau. The Forest Bureau exchange rate, what we call the retail rate, is the rate for assessing cash dollars from licensed forest bureaus. It's not a paro rate. So that is the rate PMMC was using to buy gold, and that is the rate Bank of Ghana was using to buy gold through the gold board in 2025. But when we buy the gold at that forest bureau rate, and the Bank of Ghana got the dollars, the accountant will have to record the dollars in cedis, whether or not the dollar is sold to the market through intermediation, or the dollars is added to the reserves, which means it is not even realized. But it must still be converted into cedis. And in converting it into the cedis by law, Bank of Ghana can only use the BOG rate, which is the interbank rate. Mm-hmm. And that rate is always lower than the Forest Bureau rate. And you see, in 2024-5, not all, the cedi appreciated, and at a point in time, the gap between Forest Bureau rate and Bank of Ghana rate was 1 cedi, sometimes 1 cedi 50 pesos, sometimes 2 cedis.
1 cedi 80 pesos.
So imagine that I am buying gold for the Bank of Ghana at a Forest Bureau of 14 cedis, because that, you can't go and tell a miner that ton gold, mami, may you see interbank. Or he doesn't know what interbank is. He knows the dollar rate at which, if he wants to buy dollars, he will get dollars from the Forest Bureau. Okay? So he will sell the dollar to you at Forest Bureau rate. But the Bank of Ghana accountant says, no, by law, I have to record it at a lower rate, which is interbank. So I bought it at 13, they recorded at 11, gap of 2 cedis. That is the loss. That loss is an exchange rate translational effect. And it constitutes about 90% of the gold deal losses.
Last week, we got to know, based on what the Bank of Ghana told us, that the rate gap, which you have just explained,
that's the rate gap,
constitutes,
they say 83%. Per my analysis, and I'm discussing it with them, it's more than 90%.
It's more than 90%
yes.
The rate gap?
Yes. So it is not because Obie Disika and somebody has mismanaged. But if you said that, okay, I won't buy it at Forest Bureau rate because I don't want to incur that exchange rate differential. I'll buy it at interbank rate. You just came into office. You just established the gold board. You have not even put out your policies yet. You think that we would have gotten 104 tons? No. So that is the cost. Then, of course, the Bank of Ghana says, because we don't have dollars coming in from anywhere and we are buying gold, let's use market incentives, like what? Buy the gold at spot price. Because in 2021, we had an experience. We introduced a 3% tax on gold, withholding tax. And gold volumes collapsed by over 90%. We didn't get any gold. So Bank of Ghana, learning from that experience, is we won't buy it at a discount. We will buy it at 100% the cost. We will give the world market price, all of it, to the miner. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then the cost, like the shipment cost and the rest, we will take that cost. So it's the price the Bank of Ghana has to pay to generate over $10 billion without borrowing, because if they had borrowed, they would have incurred interest.
See. And
they would have created debt which they have to service every year. So even this alternative is cheaper than going to borrow $10 billion. So this loss, is that a product of mismanagement? Look at the figures, put that back on the screen. And let me do a comparison for you. In 2024, Alfred, give me 1 minute before you come in.
Quickly.
Put that same page on the scene. In 2024, are you listening to me? The Bank of Ghana bought 45 tons of gold. Mm-hmm. 45 tons of gold. Supplied them by PMMC and a private company called Resafai. On that 45 tons of gold, the highest price at which they got it was $2,700. $2,700. That was the highest price per ounce. The highest gold price reached in 2024, 2007, 45 tons. What was the loss? These people who are talking all over the place, what was the loss they made? 5.6 billion net loss. 5.6 billion. Let me show you that. That is what is called net loss on gold deals. 5.6 billion, 2024. Then we come, we don't buy 45 tons. We don't buy 60. We don't buy 80. We buy 111. Small scale is 104. Then you add what they bought from the large scale, which is about 10 tons. You buy that 111 tons. At the time, the world market price almost doubled to 4,300, from 2,700, a high of 2,700 to a high of 4,300. And the net loss is 9 billion, and they are talking.
Let me say this now.
And they are talking. And we brought in over $10 billion. That has led to the stability. But for that, look, where would we have gotten dollars for the BDCs who bring in oil for all these players in the economy, businesses who need dollars desperately, the commercial banks for their customers.
Now, let's stay the same on this particular.
You see, no, before you come in, let me just wrap up this point. So,
because
if you look at the three main expenditure items that led to the 15.6 billion operating loss that people are making noise about, you will see that the Bank of Ghana is a victim of its successes. This is the cost of economic stability, not the product of mismanagement. You understand? And these are the details. When they talk, they won't show you the figures. We are showing you the figures. But what you have to ask yourself is that in assessing a central bank, are we just using profit and loss? Profit and loss is important. Look, the Czech National Bank, which is the central bank of Czech Republic, they declared negative equity from 2002 to 2019, 17 years. Yet, they were one of the best central banks in Europe. 2023, the European Central Bank declared a loss of 7.9 billion euros. Wait. 7.9 billion euros. 2024, 1.3 billion euros. Does that mean that that central bank is incompetent? No. The most important thing in assessing a central bank is whether or not it is delivering on its core mandate. The core mandate of price stability given it by the Constitution. Not even an act of parliament, the Constitution. You get my point? And to the extent that you incurred a total loss of 9.4 billion in December 2024. In 2024, 9.4 billion. And inflation was 23.8. Food inflation, 27%. Public debt to GDP, 61%. Lending rate over 30%. The credit rating, junk. You understand? Currency depreciation of 19%. So if Bank of Ghana has increased that loss from 9.4 to 6, and if you look at the gap, that gap, if you take the revaluation loss, which is as a result of the appreciation of the cedi, you can call that an appreciation effect, cedi appreciation effect. If you take the 5.4 from their 15.6, they come to the same 9.4 billion the MPP was in 2024. And in fact, and look at their results. Look at their results and the impact on Ghanaians.
Now, my guests are going to be joining Sammy Gyamfi in a bit, and so just stay with us here on the key point. Now, there was a point that you made, which I would want us to go back to, because you highlighted the gains, juxtaposed the gains to the cost that the Bank of Ghana had to bear.
And the cost I've shown you is not because of mismanagement,
and
some is even because of the appreciation of the currency.
Right, and the loss that we are seeing on its books.
One minute. Can you go to the OCI? Let me show you something. The other comprehensive, there's something very important I forgot. The other comprehensive income loss, yes, stay there. The other comprehensive income loss, which is 19.3 billion, with the MPP asked to the 15.6 to get their 34 billion. Let me tell you something about that. Do you know the main cause of that loss? You have it on your screen. Show it to your... Look, come this way. Let me read it. Alfred, come. Exchange and revaluation losses on gold, SDR, and foreign securities. Remember, I read Section 7 of the Bank of Ghana Act to you. And I told you that the law that Parliament has passed is that if the Bank of Ghana makes a revaluation loss on gold that it is holding, SDR is the money IMF has given Ghana, which is being held by the IMF. You understand? Mm-hmm. And their foreign securities, if they make any revaluation loss, it should be in the other comprehensive income and not the profit and loss. What loss did they make? 23.6 billion, just because the cedi appreciated. Look at 2024 figure. Look at what is on the screen. 2024.
That is over
10.5 billion profits. Profits. So the NPP made profits, which is revaluation gains, because they supervised the depreciation of the cedi by 19% in 2024. They made a profit in their revaluation account, a gain of 10.5 billion. Just because the cedi was depreciating and we were suffering. So at the time in the retail market, $1 was 16 cedis and we were suffering. Addison and his team at the Bank of Ghana were happy because they will make revaluation gains. Why? Because the rates, exchange rate that you are using to convert their foreign investments and securities and assets now has gone up. So you know what? When they tell you that they were making gains, they were reducing our loss, and we have come to increase it. Do you know what they are saying? They are celebrating gains as a result of the depreciation of the cedi, not structural reforms or structural management gains. Gains as a result of the depreciation of the cedi, they are saying that is recovery. But losses as a result of the appreciation of the cedi, they are saying that is a reversal of recovery. Does that make sense to you?
You see, for the domestic gold purchase program, and based on the losses that was incurred, which you referenced, over 9 billion, something must change, obviously. We cannot continue on this path. You referenced why you had to go on that path so as to tackle small.
Let me just answer you even before you finish.
Because even though you have done the reassessment of the rate gap, which has contributed to a large chunk of this 9 billion that we're talking about, to about 90%. If you are going on with this domestic gold purchase program, then if you're going to increase the volumes coming in, we're going to incur more.
So how do we fix it? Let me just answer that. You see, we came into office. Gold Board was established in April. We have to now put in place the organization, recruit workers, put in place system, new licenses, new reforms. You can't use 8 months to change a system that has been in place for many, many decades. So we had to just continue the Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program. But this time around, with the new mandate given to the Gold Board, scale it up in terms of volumes and in terms of FX repatriation. And that is why we got results, positive results that has never been achieved in the history of Ghana. Okay? But now 2026, President Mahama says, we promised a reset, so let's reset it. So what have we done? We have ended domestic gold purchase program, which is designed to incur cost for national economic stability. And the chunk of that cost is the rate gap that I've explained to you. Forest Bureau,
you are
Bank
buying
of Ghana
from the miners
rate,
at the Forest Bureau
and you are buying at spot price for good reason, to get good for results. But you've gotten the results and you're saying, look, for efficiency's sake, can I bring down the cost? So now we have ended domestic gold purchase program. We have introduced a policy called GhanaRAP, which has been approved by Cabinet and Parliament.
How is it different from this domestic?
It is called Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Accumulation Program. How is it different? We have reduced the cost of generating foreign reserves through domestic gold purchase program, which is about 16%. It was 16%. We brought it to 7.25% under GhanaRAP. And by next year, it's going to 5%. And by the following year, 3%. So within the short to medium term, we want to erase the cost. And under GhanaRAP, Gold Board does not buy gold at Forest Bureau rate again. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Gold Board buys gold at interbank rates because now we have settled. We have consulted the miners. We are saying that if you continue to sell gold to us at Forest Bureau rate, and Bank of Ghana has to convert it in their books at interbank, the rate gap creates about 90% of losses. And so please, bear with us. And these miners have been very patriotic. They are bearing with us. Once in a while, when the gap between Forest Bureau and interbank is not that much, less than 1 cedi, we buy at interbank. When the gap is more than 1 cedi, we give them something called bonus just to bridge the rate. And it is now just 2%. So that is a small cost compared to the about 10% cost, rate gap cost we're incurring last year. Okay? And under GhanaRAP, we have reduced the discount. Under MPP, when they bought gold under domestic gold purchase program in 2023, and they shipped it to their off-takers, only one off-taker, they had only one, called Alpha Stream, who was an agent, an intermediary, and was buying gold and selling it to another company called Stonex. Middleman broker. They sold all the gold to this middleman. And this middleman, do you know the discount? 2.2%. Now we have brought it to 1.2%, 1%. And if there is pre-financing, maybe 1.4, 1.5, 1.6%. So we are bringing down the discount. We are reducing purity losses and the other costs. So that is what we are doing under GhanaRAP. And under GhanaRAP, we want to mop up small scale 2.45 tons a week. And large scale, that's 0.55 a week. So 3 tons of gold in a week, large scale and small scale, which brings us over $400 million. And we want to do this for up to 2028 and accumulate 15 months of import cover so that the economy is resilient. And when there is any external shock like COVID, Ukraine war, or COVID-19, our economy can stand the test of time. So that is what we are doing under GhanaRAP at a very reduced cost with a clear roadmap to eliminate the cost. Now, Alfred, 1 minute.
Because the element of cost is one thing.
No, but let me make another very important point. I don't want to belabor this. There is one thing that has not really been emphasized in this discussion on the Bank of Ghana's 2025 audited financials. And that is what? It is loss of income. You see, one of the major sources of operating income of the Bank of Ghana, the Bank of Ghana borrows money and from commercial banks and they pay interest. In that same way, Alfred, the Bank of Ghana also lends money to government and government pays interest on it. You know that, right? So they also issue bills to government. So in 2022, they gave government a loan, let me put it that way, 44.5 billion cedis, which government is supposed to be paying interest on. But the reckless MPP government mismanaged the economy such that they said, we can't pay you. So the domestic debt exchange program, Bank of Ghana was giving a 50% haircut. So the income that Bank of Ghana must get every year from monies it has lent to government, Bank of Ghana is losing that money, that income. That is what is deep worsening their profit and loss and their equity. It is the biggest DDP. You see, they talk about negative equity. The Bank of Ghana was always having a positive equity. Equity simply means when we look at all your assets and we compare it to your liabilities, your assets should be more than your liabilities, okay? The Bank of Ghana was always in positive equity. Until 2022, when the recklessness of the MPP government reached a crescendo. And we woke up one day because the Bank of Ghana printed a lot of money for the government, which the government refused to pay what it was supposed to pay. Then Bank of Ghana declared negative equity of 55 billion. Then it went to 66 billion negative. Then it came to 61 billion negative. Okay? So, of course, the negative equity of the Bank of Ghana did not start today. Nanya Semwa, Alfred, since Bank of Ghana came into being, the biggest loss they have ever suffered, the biggest loss was in 2022. A 60.8 billion Ghana cedis loss. 60.8 billion. And the people who supervise a loss of 60.8 billion, they are today holding press conferences. Some are writing theses to the IMF, and they are giving us lectures on how to manage the Bank of Ghana.
There'll be a response to you on that. I'm going to go for this quick break. Now, when I come back, Richard Ayangba and also Kofi Bento, Martin Bebu will be joining you. But
before you go, can I just deal with the outlook?
When we come back.
Okay, when you come out, talk about the 2026 outlook.
What you have just referenced is what this particular chart talks about, the trend of losses that we have seen in the central bank. The most important thing is what has to change so that we don't continue on this path that we've been in over the last 4 to 5 years. Stay with us. We'll be back.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.